Welcome all to Ignite's webinar. Today is more of a conversation and creative brainstorm. We are going to be talking about how to plan your social media content in this new era of social distancing. I recognize most of you are current college members and college chapter members, which is great. This is going to be super relevant. If by chance you stumbled across this webinar and are new to Ignite, I still hope that some of the framework we provide here will inspire the content you're creating for social media in this very interesting time. So I'm going to take a deep breath before I get ahead of myself. I'm Kirsten Rogers, Ignite's Communications Director. I'd like to hand it off to my colleague, Deshani, who is helping facilitate this so she can introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Deshani. I'm Ignite's Communications Coordinator and I help Kirsten manage the social media, so I might have interacted with some of you before, but I'm glad to see you here today for our brainstorm session. And I'll hand it back to Kirsten to take us into the objectives.
Thank you, Deshani. Next slide. Slow internet. Let's go. Okay, objectives. So our work here at Ignite and your work as college chapters and fellows is very important now, so more than ever. And we are not letting the coronavirus stop us. Instead, we're adjusting. We're resilient and adapting to these new times. We are finding new ways to do our work and support our community while also being mindful and conscientious to the external needs that are impacting ourselves, our college chapter members, our friends. We have to take those things into account while we do our work, especially how we choose to engage on social media. So today's brainstorm is all about how you can shift your social media plan for these new times and plan ahead. The two objectives we have for today is to understand how to align your content, your social media content, with the needs of your chapter and the desires of your members. And I'll explain that in detail a little bit more. And through the icebreaker, it'll become a little more clear what we mean by needs and desires. The other objective is for you to walk away with at least 5 new content ideas for social media today. So Deshani is going to lead us in the icebreaker. And I actually think it's a small enough group today where we can get on camera and share these instead of typing up our thoughts. Back to you, Deshani.
So for today's icebreaker, we're asking you all to share what big things are on your mind at the moment. And this doesn't have to be specific to college chapters at all. It can just be general. And as Kirsten mentioned, since we have a smaller group, we can, I'll go through and call out some names. And when it's your turn, please do a brief introduction and share what big things are on your mind. Kirsten, would you like to go first?
So on my mind right now is staying healthy and keeping my loved ones healthy. That is definitely 24 hours of the day what I'm thinking about. Deshani, back to you.
So what's on my mind at the moment is definitely social distancing and how to stay connected in this time. I'll pick the next person to go. Judith, would you mind sharing what's on your mind at the moment?
Yeah, what's on my mind right now is sort of seeing all of the people getting free food in the different food banks and thinking about volunteering possibly, and sort of the doubts of volunteering because, you know, it's a risk, of course, when you go out there with more people. So I've just been thinking a lot about volunteering, and so I want to do it for sure next week. So yeah, that's what's on my mind right now, but specifically just being safe and also trying to be socially connected with other people as well.
Great, thank you for sharing. Christina, can you please share what's on your mind?
What's on my mind right now is making sure to stay informed on what's going on, but also I've been trying to scale back on how much news I watch. I usually watch the news all day, but lately, I just think that it helps a little with my anxiety not having it on in the background all day, but still trying to find a balance of staying informed on what we should be doing.
Thank you, Christina. Nini, can you please share what's on your mind at the moment? Oh, I think you're still on mute.
Sorry.
No worries.
For me, it's just keeping up with the social distancing. It's been kind of hard since I'm a very social person, and keeping up in my classes since I'm taking a heavy load this quarter and it's all going to be online. So I've been thinking a lot about that.
Hannah, can you go next, please?
So yeah, I'm Hannah, and I think it's really important for people to remind themselves that, like, it's okay to practice self-care and to look out for yourself and give yourself a period of grace, because a lot of my peers are really just struggling with all their motivation. So I think connecting people to resources, and particularly at my school, there's a lot of counseling services that are still going on, and making sure people are looking out for themselves and treating themselves well during this time.
Aya, your turn.
Aya is Aya's generally 2 calls right now, okay. So we can go on to the next person.
Okay, Janisha, are you here? She also on the other call. Okay, we'll go to Valeria. Can you please share what's on your mind at the moment?
Hi guys. So it's just balancing, just trying to stay sane during this time and staying home, but trying to stay productive by like physical activity or keeping up with my schoolwork. That's pretty much, and just like keeping in contact with people. Some of my family members are considered essential workers, so just trying to make sure that they're okay.
So next up is Lauren.
Hey everyone, I'm Lauren and I'm from UNT's chapter. What's on my mind is the beautiful weather that we're having in Texas right now. And I'm just trying to be grateful for the more positive things happening and focus more on that than everything else that's really negative.
Maylene, would you mind sharing what's on your mind at the moment? Oh, she might be on the other call as well. Janisha says, for me, it's trying to stay productive and healthy, both physically and mentally. Definitely overwhelming, and decided to take a week off of social media, and she already feels better. So thank you all for sharing what's on your mind at the moment. Kirsten will now take us into the next section.
So thank you all for your candor and getting really real with us. It ranges from, what's making the headlines to the very personal, what we're feeling. And I loved hearing, I think it was Lauren, you mentioned focusing on the positive, and you mentioned getting involved in your community and volunteering. And it's so uplifting to hang on to those positive pieces. So now that we've talked about like what is personally on our minds right now, we're going to shift and talk about what do your college chapters need to accomplish during this time. So I'm going to, for the sake of time, we're just a teeny tiny bit behind schedule. So instead of popcorning answers, go ahead and share your answers in the chat box. What are some of the priorities you as a college chapter have? From Ignite National's perspective, these are some of the things that we are seeing you do on social media, that we're getting questions about. Who has other ideas that they would add to this list?
So Lauren says, record meetings on Zoom and post them for others to view whenever they're free.
Yeah, great idea.
Mm-hmm. Any other ideas?
Let's see. Hold e-board, Hannah mentioned, hold e-board meeting applications, and also reach out to members to check in. So absolutely, you need to start recruiting your leadership positions for next year, and checking in with your members 100%. They would love to hear from their Ignite fam. From Christina, priorities, becoming officially chartered. Congratulations, that's really exciting. Recruiting new members, establishing a full e-board, keeping current members engaged. From Nini, focus on recruitment, community building within our chapters. Excellent. So all of these topics, the things that are personally on your mind, coupled with all of the things your college chapters do, where these two subjects overlap is the sweet spot on the content you want to be creating for social media right now. I have a diagram, my little Venn diagram right here. You're going to want to, for social media, think through how you align these hot topics on your mind with your pressing college chapter needs, what you need to accomplish, and where those overlap. That's the content you want to think about. And before I share an example, I just noticed Janice just shared a need for her work as a fellow to weekly check-in calls with chapters, reading a book on self-care, Ignite Capital in Tennessee, absolutely. So some events and some check-in with chapter members. And thank you, Udit, for joining us. We will, we'll send you the recording. So I want to hop into an example before we start the brainstorm of how this model works. What's on your mind? A lot of you mentioned social distancing. What do you need to accomplish as a college chapter? Many of you mentioned staying connected with members. So a content idea for you for Instagram is to utilize that handy little tool, the question tool in Instagram stories, to check in with members and ask them questions. One thing you can ask them is how they're staying engaged while maintaining this physical distancing. You can compile their ideas and obviously reshare them on Instagram. You can also send out an email to your chapter members. It's nice because it's acknowledging that this particular content strategy is acknowledging the climate that we live in right now. It connects with your members, it reaches out to check in with them, it gives them an opportunity to speak up about what's working for them, and to hear from their college chapter leadership. It's a nice touch point. Deshani had another great idea. I'll let her walk you through this one.
So another big topic at the moment is graduation. Since it is almost the end of the semester and some of your chapter members might be graduating, it's good to take some time to really celebrate the year. And a content idea here, a possible content idea here, is to do a graduation ceremony on Instagram Live. And we know it's not the same as an actual graduation ceremony, but hopefully it's still something that can help your members feel as though they still get to celebrate what they've accomplished. And when you go live on Instagram, you can use the jewel feature and have your members wear their caps and gowns, and you can even present them with awards using superlatives. For example, you can present them an award for best attendance, or you can present an award to someone who maybe registered the most voters throughout the year. It's really an idea that you can take and you can run with it, and you can really shape it to fit what your chapter needs the most. Kirsten?
I'm sorry, was muted. Thank you so much, Deshani. So now we're going to transition into the brainstorm session, and we want to hear, using this model, what's on your mind, what do you need to accomplish, how does that become content, what ideas are coming up for people. Not to put anyone on the spot, I'll let you take a few seconds to marinate. can raise your hand and we'll go ahead and call on you. I actually do see Janisha, you had raised your hand a few minutes ago. Do you have another question? I think Janisha was just asking about the slide deck. So Christina, you were on our call on the virtual college chapter hangout and had some wonderful ideas for social media. Do you want to share some of those ideas here now?
Yes, so our current e-board actually just had a meeting yesterday. And one thing I was really excited about from before was like the Instagram takeover idea and doing it with the elected officials. But our e-board even brought up, since we are a newer chapter and we are trying to still, you know, introduce ourselves to people, that different members of the chapter could take over the Instagram and introduce themselves and why and how they got involved with Ignite, you know, their favorite things about it, just kind of part of our recruitment strategy, and also introducing ourselves so people know who and what we are, and then still doing what I wanted to do with the Instagram takeover. That's one thing. And we also talked about some of us do still have quote unquote in-person class on Zoom, and still just kind of pitching Ignite, maybe in the first few minutes of that or in our class group chat, something like that. Yeah, that's the bulk of what we talked about.
Yeah, Christina, thank you. I think it's nice to think off of social media for a minute. If you do have access to Zoom classes with other students at your university, definitely ask the professor if you can take a moment to make a plug for your work. And I should say these ideas we're presenting in today's session are very heavy on Instagram, because we've noticed that's where most of our college chapters and members spend their time. I do think that, you know, these ideas are adaptable to Facebook in some ways, and Twitter and LinkedIn. Maybe you can even get creative on TikTok, but there's always a way to reshape the idea. The other thing I wanted to add on to your idea, Christina, when you ask members to do takeovers, for example, Ignite will ask young women in our community to do takeovers on the national account for Instagram stories. We'll actually provide them with some questions to help guide the takeover and give them a little bit of structure. Keeping in mind that, you know, we might have a very set objective, like recruiting fellows for the 2020-2021 fellows cohort. So we'll be sure that our questions we provide for the takeover help get to that end. And also helpful, if you're having members take over your account, you want to encourage them to cross-promote the takeover on their own social media channels, so you're reaching a much wider audience. Are there other ideas that people would like to share and think through?
So my chapter just had a meeting yesterday with our executive board. So I'm from UW in Seattle. So we actually talked about doing like the same thing with having our e-board members taking over the Instagram and like getting with our stuff throughout the day. And said that we would have a set of questions to ask, and then at some portion of the day do an Instagram live. And so the plan was to do kind of like a get ready with me, like I'll take you through my day kind of thing, because I mean everyone's kind of home right now, but you know, take people through their classes and then like what they do in a day, what they eat, just like creating like, I guess, a relationship with some of our community members. Another thing we talked about was actually getting involved with other RSOs on campus. So Ignite, our Ignite chapter is really involved with our student government Women's Action Committee. We call it the ASUW Women's Action Committee, and we cross-promote events together. So we talked a lot about cross-promoting right now because they're looking for how there's new fellow applications. Like they're going to promote us to help us find a new fellow, and we're going to help them find a new director and associate director for their positions. And we're also need to do like kind of like movie nights, like Netflix nights, with our members, and like they would help us promote those while those nights. We help promote like their drives and their like events too.
Deshani and I are both really big fans of the Netflix streaming parties. There's a lot of fun things you can do around that. And, you know, while you're streaming a particular movie, if the topic is relevant to the work Ignite is doing, you can be having a conversation on, you know, have a Twitter chat, or, you know, have people posting their responses to the movie on Instagram stories and sharing. That's kind of fun and lighthearted. You can keep it topic relevant, but it's also just nice to kick back and watch a movie. The other thing that is great about your ideas is collaboration and finding strategic partners on your campus to highlight and amplify the work that you're doing.
Kirsten, I think you went on mute again accidentally.
Muted myself. Thank you, Deshani. Does anyone else have ideas they'd like to share?
My chapter, we want to have a meeting with all of our members at the end of this month probably, and we're trying to figure out what to do, but just to like touch base with everybody, and we're thinking maybe like a coffee date or like a virtual like grab your lunch, and we can just talk about future ideas and future plans. So because a lot of the members who are in charge right now are pretty much cycling out, so just in continuing that engagement, but by doing it in like a casual like let's have lunch together way.
One of my favorite activities that's slowly catching on with the Ignite team is to hold virtual brunches, where we bring our own breakfast and we log on and we chat and catch up, typically using Zoom or Google Hangouts. And definitely a fun thing that you can be talking about in social media in advance to get people excited. That's a good way to connect. Are there other ideas for social content?
I'm not sure how to raise my hand on this, but so I'm not from Ignite. I'm from Eta Sigma Gamma, which is like a honorary through health science. But we just needed some ideas for our social media content, which I'm in charge of. But one of the things that we're doing is trying to set up challenges for our members that are related to health. So this week we're doing like encouraging our members to download one of those free step tracker apps and setting a goal for them, like 7,000 steps or 5,000 steps. And then they would just report in, and then we would post about it on social media, talking about so-and-so member went this many steps, and kind of just turning it into like encouraging, a little bit competitive, but just to keep people like engaged on the social media. So just like posting challenges with our members.
I think challenges are so popular right now. I've even been sucked into a few, but I will not do the push-up challenge. I refuse. Happen. But that's definitely a great idea, and I so appreciate having someone outside of our Ignite community on. Welcome, thank you. I hope you have some good takeaways from this conversation today. I think the suggestions of challenges related to health are so important as we think about staying physically and mentally healthy in these times. Those two things are super tied together. So I think Ignite Women on the call, there probably is something here you can do for your members as well. related to challenges, and again, to be respectful of your time on our webinar today, I want to share one more idea that I had that is like a challenge. The elections are coming up. There are a lot of primary dates, state by state, that are changing. I learned this morning that the Democratic National Convention is now pushed back all the way to August. There's conversations about states switching to mail-in ballots instead of poll locations. So we still have to turn out the vote. We still have to register voters. We have to educate them on all of these new challenges, how to find the new primary date, how to get to the polls, how to make sure if it's vote by mail, how they get their ballot. So a fun challenge, one thing I love about Instagram, they have a voter registration sticker in Instagram stories. And you can ask your members to build out a challenge around using that sticker to raise awareness about voting and also register as many voters as possible, while teasing out information about deadlines, upcoming elections, changes in those election dates. There's much to think about. So I'm sad to say there's no more time allotted for brainstorming. We need to wrap this up and let you get on with your day. But I did want to take a few minutes for reflection. Does anyone have a takeaway they'd like to share? Thank you so much for asking, Hannah. Let's drop these in the chat box. Sorry, Dashani, I think as people are typing up their answers to share back, is there anything you'd like to share that you are taking away from today's session?
Yes, I feel like there are so many different ways where you can engage with your members during this time, especially using Instagram's like sticker features. Don't shy away from doing anything related to like mental health and self-care check-ins as well, because that's something that can definitely help your members feel engaged and still feel seen and connected during this time, which is definitely a unique time. But yeah, my takeaway is that there are quite a few options that we have here. And then Hannah just shared too that she loves the idea of the challenge and tagging idea. And then she said she's looking forward to combining hot topics with what is on the peers' minds and as they're finishing the semester.
Yeah, challenges are great ideas. I'm excited to see that Christina is excited to get to work. There really is no shortage of things we can do. As the communications director for Ignite, I struggle with having too many ideas and not enough time to do something about it. I really appreciate Sydney's feedback around really knowing there isn't a right way or a wrong way to do this. Given our new circumstances, we're all learning. The framework, that Venn diagram I shared, is just one way you can go about framing your content in these times when we really have to take into consideration the wellness of ourselves and our community members. Love it. Janisha has a very practical logistical tip. Using Instagram stories typically performs better than just posting directly on Instagram. That is some of the logistics about social media algorithms. That's a conversation for another day, but also a super valuable tip as you think about the best way to reach your members. Let me see. Thank you all for jumping in with those tips. So next steps, handing it over to, I'm wrapping up next steps, apologies. So next steps, I am opening up my calendar to all of you for 15-minute follow-up one-on-one conversations. for you to continue to build on some of these ideas or talk through new ideas you have, have come up for you. The link is there. Grab a time and we'll talk. The next thing I'm sharing, dropping in the chat box, is a calendar. This is a template to help you plan out your content for social media. It is a template, so please download it, make a copy of it, and utilize that. It'll help you organize some of your thoughts as you map out how to engage your college chapters, your community over this next stretch of time. So now Deshani has some exciting things to share with us as well.
So I hope you guys have all enjoyed your time here today in this webinar, and hopefully you're walking away with new ideas on how to really engage your members during this time. And if you did enjoy this webinar, please make sure to check out some of our upcoming webinars. We have one right after this one called Friday Feels, and it's a casual call really just to check in with your Ignite community before you head into the weekend. And a huge one that we have coming up next Wednesday is a webinar with Stacey Abrams, and it's all about voting accessibility. And please make sure to check those out if you're interested. Kristen did just drop in those links into the chat box. Thank you, Kristen. So you can easily access those and sign up for any of our upcoming webinars. I think our next slide, yes. So here's our contact information. Please feel free to contact either one of us if you have any questions or if you want to discuss more ideas on how to really engage your members during this unique time. We'll be happy to help in any way that we can. And then we have one more thing before, yes. So before we let you all go, we would like to do a group affirmation. So for this, please unmute yourselves. And as you do that, when we start this, I'll do a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then we can all start repeating what you see on your screen in pink, but I'll give you a moment to unmute yourself. Just another moment. Valeria, are you joining us?
Yes.
Okay, so I will start with the 3, 2, 1 countdown now, and then we can start repeating what's going on, what's on screen. 3, 2, 1. Our work matters. It must
continue.
We are resilient. We will persist. Hey, thank you.
That makes me happy. I can't thank you all enough for joining us today. I appreciate your creativity and your insight and your candor. I will loop back via email with all of the links shared via chats today. So if you missed something, you will get it by email. And do please stay in touch with us. Take advantage of that. Sign up to get a 15-minute call in. I'm definitely available for more than 15 minutes. That's just a starting point. But we're here for you. Please be well, be kind to yourselves, to one another, and enjoy the weekend ahead. And thank you again for tuning in.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.